Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, now the thing is on and I can actually get going. So thank you, everybody, for coming to the Fall Town Hall. Thanks to everybody who's online as well. I hope that you will also enjoy your Halloween festivities tomorrow and the Halloween parade that's tonight in the town. Get some candy, if nothing else. So I want to today briefly review some information, both in terms of our finances, and I'll then talk about like student trends, and then talk about where we're going with our strategic pivot and kind of catch everybody up, including the work that we've been doing together from the community conference when we had the art and science research presentation, and where we are with that as well. So let's talk about our finances. Now, our VP for Finance Administration is on a well-deserved vacation. So she had to prep me, and trust me, she did a good job. I am going to kind of go through, on the top graph, what you're seeing there is the operating surplus and the deficit since fiscal 18 for the college. With the fiscal 24, the audited unofficial results, because we're going through the final audit right now, and then the board has to approve it. And fiscal 25 is what's projected for the fiscal 25 budget. And so what you'll see there, and I also show what our deficit would have been had COVID-19 not occurred, right? Had we not received the extra money from the federal government and not taken an extra withdrawal from the endowment. So in fiscal 24, we ended our operations on a GAAP basis with a deficit of $13.5 million. Last year, we did an enormous amount of work, and we reduced that deficit by $10.4 million, so that fiscal 25 is projected to end with a $3 billion deficit. I can't say strongly, loudly, appreciatively enough of what it took this entire college to do together to achieve that deficit reduction. It is, if you think about all the work that you did and where we ended up, I hope that you are as empowered and proud of where the college was able to get to in just 1 year's period of time. On the bottom, you will see the net student revenue trends. So we are dependent on, over 75% of our budget comes from student room, tuition, board, and fees. And what you'll see there is a trend from fiscal 18 to what's projected for fiscal 25. And you'll see that fiscal 25's net student revenues are higher than fiscal 24 and actually higher than in the past several years. What's important to note about the fiscal 25 budget, not only the deficit projection, but also the revenue projection, is that we built the budget for fiscal 25 such that these results are aligned with what was approved as our budget. In other words, in previous years, we've had to, in mid-year, realize that our tuition revenues were out of sync with our expenses, and we had to quickly reduce expenditures, change the way we're doing things. This year's budget is built such that there is confidence, significant confidence, that we will end the year as we projected in the budget that was approved. In other words, I won't be knocking on your door going, can I have $1, right? So the net student revenue, the philanthropic revenue, the endowment withdrawal, projections all align with the fiscal 25 budget. Part of our revenues obviously are our endowment. So this year, remember, our budget is built with a 2% raise, which is going to be effective in January. And as we work on fiscal 26 planning, working more to see if we can bring that up higher than just that 2% for the next year. Our endowment's been performing well, and again, our endowment's a critical part of our operations. It grew 9.9% total, so our total endowment, which includes not just the portion managed by Common Fund, but also some real estate holdings. That performed at 9.9%. Industry is about 10%, so we did well there. Our Common Fund pooled endowment, which is managed by Common Fund, performed at a 14% increase over the prior year, which has outpaced industry standards. But those USIMCO kids who manage a portion of our endowment as well, their portion actually performed at 20%. So great job to our students, right? They did an extraordinary job. So to Jen and Maureen and the advisory group that works with those students, holy cow, like they did great. So we listen to, of course, what they say, what they're doing, so that we continue to improve. All of the work that we did over the past 2 years in terms of looking at our operations, adapting our budget and our revenue projections, allowed us to maintain a BBB credit rating with S&P and a stable outlook. I hope that that resonates deeply with you, because it signals not only, of course, I have confidence in the college, I hope you have confidence in the college, but S&P has confidence in the college. Our creditors have confidence in the college. Our peers have confidence in the college, right? So it is something that you always hope is going to happen. And next year, I hope that goes up to a higher credit rating as we continue to move through this strategic pivot and work on the art and science stuff. I want to talk about some other things that happened during this pivot, right? Turnover. So what you'll see in the table here is fiscal 21, 22, 23, 24, fiscal 25 as of October 24th, not October 24th. October 24th is the day the data was downloaded. For total new hires, total departures, the total number of retirements and non-renewals, deaths, promotions, all of those things that don't go into the calculation of turnover for the official turnover rate, but that we do keep track of. The number of employees, these are only full-time numbers. It does not include part-time individuals. And then we've got the net gain or loss of personnel for each year. And obviously, fiscal 24 was hard. It hit hard. And it is, this year, what we're seeing is that the turnover, change is easy. Transition is really hard. And one of the things that we knew and we talked about for a transition was that there would be turnover, right? That people would leave. I am not happy about the pace of that. But I do know that it is something that is natural and that will rebound and that we will not see the same trends. Buried in that October fiscal 25 trend is the fact that higher education, this is the hiring season. So we always see more turnover at the beginning of an academic year, then it's going to flatten out as we go through the year. So I'm not alarmed by the numbers for this year, but I'm not happy about them either. And so we will be discussing today some of those pieces as we move forward about how we address some of our turnover issues, right? So just to give you a sense of turnover percentage, again, we don't include incentivized retirements or reductions in force in our turnover calculations. So turnover was a little higher than the national average last year if we discount those, but we know those things happened, and those things impact the workload here, the morale. The turnover is not just people leaving, right? It's the experiences that are leaving, it's the jobs that you thought you had are changing because now you have to absorb new work. And so as we go forward, I want you to know that we'll be meeting the new HR director shortly. It is a high priority to really start digging in a little bit more into the employee experience as we go through this pivot, something that the space that we created in our operating budget this year allows us to do. Just to give you a sense, we currently have 44 open searches as of the 24th. And it takes an average of 31 days from posting to hiring. And I will say, hiring means that somebody put it into Oracle and let me know, right? Not me know, but let the system know. That could happen as soon as an offer is accepted, but the person doesn't actually start for a couple weeks because they had to give notice where they were. So I don't want people thinking that that includes from the minute they walk in the door when they're hired. It's just when the system gets notified that someone is hired. So, let's see what's next. All right, so with that said, I'm going to introduce you to Michelle Wolfong, who is our new HR director and who is here. And way back there she is. So there we go. So if we continue the discussion of fostering and growing talent within the institution, Lachelle is going to be working very closely with all of you to really think about professional development, talent management, developing a compensation policy and process to make sure that we are equitable, to look at our benchmarking processes and how we onboard our staff. All of those things in collaboration with faculty council, staff assembly, the leadership team. So you'll be seeing a lot of her, so thank you for being with us, Lachelle. We also have with us Karam McDonald. All right, very good. So he is joining us and as the Director of Procurement. And what's exciting about that is that he is going to leverage our buying power and help with our policies and our processes so that our procurement office can help us get the best deals and the best contracts for all of our operations while we manage ourselves fiscally responsibly as well. So welcome, Karen, for being with us. As I mentioned, there is a lot going on, and thank yous only go so far verbally, although I have to say the homecoming and the work that was done by the staff and everyone was extraordinary. So thank you for that. Ahead of that, to the faculty and the staff that are going to be at Open House on Sunday, thank you, because I know it's going to be an exceptional event. It's always exciting to see their prospective students and their families. So I'm honored to at least be able to give the gift of time by having the college close on Wednesday, November 27th, so that is an extra day that you can spend with your family and your friends during that holiday season. So that's at least a little bit of good news as we start to work on more good news coming forward. Let's talk about some good news. These students, how about them? So these are some student trends. F means fall, so fall 19 to fall 24. On the left-hand side, that's first-time first-year students, so your traditional first-year freshmen. Then you've got Pell recipients, first-gen, and students of color. And then the line is the total number of students. And what you'll see is that this year's class is more diverse than prior classes. In each category, about 30% or so of the students are Pell recipients, first-gen students, and/or students of color. The first-year number has been going down, and that is something that, as you know, going through the brand redo, going through the marketing things, this is the first cycle where we've got all of our stuff in place, and we've got the development of new strategies coming out with the art and science work. So that number is, we had 378 traditional first-year students this year, and our goal, obviously, is to bring that up, because the more we have, the more revenues we have. Now, that being said, our discount rate was lower than it's been in the past, hence the reason the net student revenues are up. So kudos to the financial aid, financial services group, and to enrollment management for keeping the discount down while increasing the diversity of our students, while also maintaining a class that is strong. So thank you very much for everything that you did there. On the right, you get retention, right? So retention is part of, it's not only good for the bottom line, it is the right thing to do. If we admit students to the college, it is our obligation to support them through to the completion of their degree. The line on that graph, the solid line, is the total enrollment of total full-time students. And then we've got the red bar is first to second year. So if you came in, say, in fall of 2017, which is what F17 is, you were a first-year student there. You were 86% retained of those students into their second year, which would have been the fall of 18, right? So we've got first to second year retention, first to third, and first to fourth. And what you're seeing is the benefit of all of the work of residence life, student engagement, facilities, faculty. Everyone on this campus contributes to retention. I can't tell you how many times students will say that all it took was a smile from someone to make the difference between them staying or them leaving. So thank you on behalf of all of our students for helping us with this. But I know that this year, it is tough, right? That not only do we have some staff losses in some critical areas, right? We also have some unique cats in our group, right? We've got 13.5% of our incoming students this year are transfer students. Now, that's the national average is about 13%, so we're about where we want. But the class of 2028 and the traditional first-year students, they are a special group of students, right? And they're coming to us with very rich lived experiences that are different from what past student groups have brought to us. So they are the first class that we've had where their early adolescence was completely disrupted by the pandemic. And what that means for them is that they lack some things that we presume they bring with them when they come to college. So we're very fortunate that we have very strong ODA and ISS offices, and that they are doing everything they can to support our students. About 30% of our students are registered using the ODA services, and that fluctuates if there's injuries and other things happening in their lives. They have no real frame of reference for what life was like before there were culture wars and worldwide conflict. So their approach to conflict is a little different, right? And you can sometimes see that in the classroom. Now, these are obviously generalizations about our students. They're familiar with change, though. This is an adaptable group. They're kind of like, I'm going to date myself if anybody remembers Weebles. Right, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, right? So they're kind of like, you knock them over and they bounce right back up, right? So our students are a lot like that, right? They are very resilient to change. So that is something that is a strength that can help them thrive in college. They have emotional and mental health concerns that we saw in the incoming student. We asked the students who are coming in to take a survey. And we asked them, what are you most looking forward to? And what are you most concerned about? They were most concerned about the emotional and mental toll it was going to take to be in college with other people, right? And that comes from their adolescence being disrupted and being very nervous about, how do I build friendships? I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to have difficult conversations. I've not had to do that. And I'm scared. The opposite of that is, what are you most looking forward to? Making friends. They are excited about making friends. In fact, that's the number one motivation for many of them choosing to go to college at all, is not the academics. It's, I want to make friends, right? And that tells you, again, they have a very different lived experience than students in the past. And so they want social engagement. And so I'm excited to see, as things come, things are happening in the IIE and in student engagement, and Greek life is very active, and I'm excited to see what they can do, but I'm also really excited to see what comes out of the work that's happening in art and science, and what strategies are going to come out about how we build social engagement for those students as we go forward. So as I was thinking about our students and thinking about the turnaround and thinking about all of the things that we've been through and all the excitement and the positivity that's coming for us, I was reminded of the community values, and so I kind of want to put them back up here because they've been an important touchstone for me over time, but sometimes you forget about them. And so we had a leadership meeting, today's Wednesday, yesterday, and we talked about the values and how do we actually incorporate them more explicitly in what we're doing and bring them to the fore more often. And so I just kind of want to put them up there. When you go to our new website, which I'm not a Gen Z kid, so sometimes I'm like, where do I find the what? But my daughter's able to find everything, so it's all good. You can find these just by searching the word values, and you'll find the community values. But I kind of want to reiterate that we do have these values, and that as we go through the pivot, I don't want us to lose sight of those. So it's been a wild ride for 2 years. Right? I don't know if it's as good as Mr. Toad's wild ride, but it's pretty good. So we took the work that had been done over a couple years, put it together as a strategic framework, identified the 3 pillars of student success, Ursinus, and external partnerships. We launched a brand platform initiative that defined who we are. We developed new marketing materials, new websites. We then partnered with Art and Science, who did 18 months worth of research. At the same time, we deployed Oracle, we redid Laura Wismer, we organized leadership, we did a lot of stuff. Then we got the community conference where the results from Art and Science were presented and shared with us. And then we launched the working groups who are currently busy developing strategies, and the goal being that those strategies will begin to be piloted in spring of 2025, and then more work and more strategies launched in the fall of 2025 and going on, and we will continue to iterate and think about what's possible here at the college. So our brand is who we are, right? And so that ology work, Purposefully Open, if you haven't read Purposefully Open in a while, right, the open-hearted and open-minded come to Ursinus to be supported through a personalized journey of self-understanding and intellectual growth by exploring, questioning, and learning without inhibition to achieve lifelong prosperity for themselves and their communities. And then if you actually go back to the values are embedded in that. And that's intentional because it's who we are. It is more than just a logo. It's more than just the red and gold, right? It has deeper meaning. It should invoke a feeling when people hear Ursinus College. Purposefully Open as a brand should help invoke a feeling about what Ursinus, who Ursinus is to them. And it's because it's who we are at the core, it's who we've always been, and who we are doesn't change, right? So a brand does not change, right? What the brand does might change, but the brand itself, its core values, who the brand is, doesn't change. So we did that work with Ology, and we launched a number of different marketing campaigns and new ideas. So we know that Ursinus is really open to what's next. We have everyday challenges. We all know about the demographics, increased competition, over-discounting, affordability, and return on investment concern, all those things. And we know what students want. Students want an intentional focus on career outcomes. They want assurance that their degree is going to lead to a successful professional life. They want engaging social interactions, and they want experience applying their knowledge directly. And what we do is we offer an experience that focuses on preparing students to be nimble, forward-thinking leaders in emerging fields and professions that will play an outsized role in building and sustaining our future. And that is the art and science research saying that if you were that, if what you do is that, you have enormous opportunity to grow your enrollment, to grow your revenues, and to grow your reputation, right? So who we are doesn't change depending on what we do, right? But the art and science work defines what we do. And to that end, what we do has to have a name, right? So we worked with the leadership team, the board, constituents on campus, experts in marketing and branding, and we have settled on the name Apex, right? So Apex at Ursinus College is applied, it is professional, it is experiential. It's what we do. It's representative of the peak of the Ursinus experience without abandoning our commitment to inclusive, supportive, and diverse learning environments. In other words, we're not changing who we are. We're changing how we frame what we do and some of what we do. The word Apex we chose because it is a clear messaging with an acronym. It is memorable, it's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. It aligns with our goals that are coming out of art and science research, and it signals professional readiness, and that was really the thing that will move the needle for us in terms of enrollment, right? So Apex at Ursinus College, then putting that together with our brand, what does that look like? We are open to create, right? In the classroom, on stage, in the lab, in the world, right? So it doesn't change who we are. We're open to create, but it tells you what we do. Open to question through our curriculum, our residential experience, research, corporate and community engagement. Again, our brand, and then what we do in Apex, right? So Apex, it's our opportunity. Who we are will never change, but what we do will. And we've been going through that turnaround of what we do now. And I'm very honored to be able to share and thank the Corson Foundation for pledging $1 million to provide funding to support the development and launch of Apex. And so there'll be a full news release coming out about this. But thank you to the Corson Foundation, so we can give them a round of applause. So importantly, that is in addition to $500,000 that the board allocated for the development and implementation of Apex, that about 560,000 bequest from an alumnus on his death. So that also is for the implementation of Apex. And then as part of the work that we've been doing financially, we were able to refinance our bonds. And refinancing our bonds not only saved us money in terms of the annual interest payments we have to make, but it also provided the college $9 million in capital cash. That $9 million in capital cash is going to be used to support the capital investments we need to make in our spaces to support Apex, as well as our deferred maintenance. So we're already seeing a lot of traction and a lot of excitement amongst our board members. For Apex, we saw a lot of excitement with Standard & Poor's when we were meeting with them about Apex, right? So we're on a really exciting trajectory, and so, and that is thanks to all of you sticking with it and believing in this college. And with that, I think I am all done. There's a QR code if you want to submit questions anonymously. Otherwise, we'll start off with questions here.
As a reminder, you can either come up to the microphone at the center podium here. For those in the balcony, we also have a microphone as well. So thank you.
Hi, thanks, Robin. This is Rebecca Roberts from Biology. Can you talk to, there's a lot of buzzwords, and Apex is like something that I just learned about this week and all of this, and how that fits with our previous and maybe now defunct things like the Quest curriculum and all of those. So like, can you just bring it all together?
Sure.
For me? Thanks.
So Quest is our curriculum, right? It's in some ways it's how we do things, right? Remember, Apex is what we do, right? We prepare students to be nimble professionals and forward-thinking leaders. How? Through Quest, through the curriculum, through CIE, through summer fellows, through the UImagine Center, right? So the curriculum and the experiences we currently have and the experiences that we will be launching, those are all the how. Apex is the what, right? So Apex does not subsume or replace Quest. Quest is part of supporting Apex. Does that make sense? Sort of, kind of, maybe? Yeah. Any other questions? I do.
Hi, Robin. Dale Cameron in Biology. So the brand study that was done, was that Ology?
Ology, yep.
Yeah. And those kind of results of that study came out before the art and science findings and results. Is there any concern that maybe we would need a do-over now, given that, you know, maybe some of the recommendations of art and science aren't reflected in the branding from the brand study, or do you feel like it'll fix it?
No, the good thing is that we actually did the brand study and found out who we are before we did the art and science work, right? So one of the things that any company, but particularly higher ed, will tell you, like, if you don't know who you are, you will misplace your strategies, right? So Coke Zero, or Pepsi Zero, with Coke Zero, right? So Coke Zero was a disaster because Coke forgot who they were. Southwestern right now is going through the let's actually assign seats. They're forgetting who they are, right? So we're fortunate we did the brand study. We shared all the brand study results with Art and Science as they were coming in. So Art and Science was able to work with the committee that designed the surveys to make sure they were asking the right questions informed from that brand study. So I have no concerns that in the immediate future we have to do anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin.
Sure.
It's really, I had the opportunity to attend an arts and science workshop last week, and it's really important to be in the same room with people in general.
Yeah.
And it was good to hear from you this morning. I'm appreciative of the fact that you directly addressed turnover, which sounds like a dessert.
It does. It's not as tasty, though.
It does.
No.
It's not tasty, right?
No.
And I'm having spoken with not so much faculty, but with staff around the college. I'm really, we've had morale problems in the past, but we've never seen the departure of so many people with a lot of institutional memory and history. Who we are, if that, I don't believe that who we are doesn't change. You're gonna have a hard time convincing me of that. But playing with it for a minute, if that is true, then we need to stabilize
Absolutely.
the staff and make the staff feel recognized and valued. And this seems like a very high priority because I feel like the ship is unstable.
So I hear that, Louise. Yeah, so the ship to me is not unstable. Like I said, I'm not alarmed by it. I'm not happy about it. One of the things we have to do is to be able to reward and appropriately compensate staff and faculty. And one of the things that Lachelle is tasked with doing is coming up with a compensation policy and process where we review and benchmark all of our current employees. I should let you know that when we post a new position, we do benchmark against, we look at the Centennial Conference in that same equivalent position, all D3 colleges, and then we look at Pennsylvania all schools, right? So we look at 3 levels of benchmark, and we we offer the salary within the range of 30% of the median, 30th percentile to 70th percentile as a start, but that has not always been the case, right? And so as we start to make new hires, looking at our compensation process, making sure there's equity, but also addressing compression, right? So Lachelle also has to come up with a plan, a multi-year plan for how we address any salary compression, which means you've been here for a certain number of years, but we bring in a new employee and they're at a higher salary, right? So we're going to be working on a plan to address those things as well. Because it is not only it's the right thing to do, but it also speaks to the morale issue. If you know those things are happening and the college is not doing anything about it, then it erodes your morale even further because you don't feel like you're valued or seen. So lots of things about morale, also working with staff assembly, faculty council, and working with Lachelle as she's going to be doing listening tours and trying to get an understanding on the pulse of what's going on, coming up with what is it that the staff and the faculty, besides new hires, which we are making, right? So there's 44 open positions, 77 people were hired this year. We are making those hires, but it's not necessarily fast enough, and we're losing people in certain key areas at different rates, right? So what does faculty staff morale mean? What sort of supports do faculty and staff need to feel more empowered and more engaged and more valued by the college, right? Those are all things that Lachelle is going to be listening for, and then working with the shared governance bodies to develop responses to. So I feel bad because like Lachelle has to do this, right?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
I have questions, kind of on the same thread as Louise. Mine was actually, I had a question about if there was any common themes in the breakdown of the personnel that were leaving. Like, is there anything that we can address sooner than later? And you also mentioned the compression of the staff who are here while we're also hiring. And I wanted to go back to a town hall maybe last year, and I think you mentioned that there would be professional development for staff who were still here, and I just wonder, I haven't heard anything about that, and I just wanted to know if there was a plan to address the needs of
There
staff
definitely is,
who
yeah.
are
So now that
here.
Lachelle is here, so a lot of it was waiting for a transition.
I have one more thing.
Oh, sorry, I can't remember them all.
I had one more thing. You can, yes. And then you didn't include the incentivized retirement as a part of who was leaving, and I was just wondering if we have what that would look like.
Oh, they're there.
with that.
Yeah, they're just not. We don't count them in the turnover calculation, but they're on the table. If I can go back to the table, they're there. Yeah, so they're on the table.
Yeah, I mean, but do we feel like were any of the incentivized retirements like unexpected in the turnover
I'm the wrong person
calculation?
to ask, right?
Okay.
I think so. Heather has the is able to look at the exit interviews to know those things.
Heather?
Different VPs might know whether or not somebody was expected. Cale would know, right? So I can always go back and ask Cale if any of them were unexpected. He never expressed, or no one ever expressed to me they were unexpected, but that doesn't mean they weren't.
Okay. All right, so then my question was the breakdown of personnel leaving and professional development for staff that are still here.
Okay, so the breakdown of staff that are leaving, they are coming from different areas across campus. I don't know, again, because I'm not part of the exit process, but so this is something that perhaps Lachelle can address more in detail as she gets her feet under her, but I know that the ones that I'm most aware of, and when I become aware of them, it's really because we're going to do a counteroffer. So since I've been here, we've been doing counteroffers when we're able to, if you let us know that you're receptive to one. Those are people that are moving on for professional reasons. They're getting a raise, right? They're going to a promotion where they have more responsibility and more opportunity, and I think we recognize that we need to create more opportunity for our current staff, but that not every professional opportunity is going to be here at the college. In terms of other reasons, I think that's a question best asked to Lachelle and Heather maybe when she gets the exit interviews, because I don't know. And then the professional development is also, so we, in talking to staff assembly, working with staff assembly, and then we're going to be bringing in faculty council to really think about what should the college be offering as standard professional development opportunities. And then now that we have Lachelle here, I would expect that within a few short months, you'll start seeing a plan of what we're going to be offering and how we're going to roll that out. That ties to the work in Oracle, because Oracle has this career pathway thing, right? But we got to build it out. And again, now that we have Lachelle, we're going to be able to have the guidance in terms of what we're going to be able to do in Oracle to build those pathways out. So, hey, Nathan.
Hey, Nathan Ryan, Philosophy and Religious Studies. I was just wondering if you can you say a little bit more about sort of what types of things will fall under the Apex umbrella? Are we talking about sort of new curricular initiatives? Are we talking about, internship? I mean, can you sort of give some examples of?
I don't know. All right, okay. So there's working groups that are working on those things, and so I don't know if, Gundolf, if you have any more detailed insight than my useless response of there's working groups working on that. Yeah, please.
Hi, everyone. We have the working group chairs, or at least some people from the working groups here in the room as well. Nathan, Apex includes a combination. It's academic programs, elements of the core curriculum and co-curriculum, the social life and experiential learning. Those are the main areas where the art and science feedback said, we need to offer students an opportunity to build their professional success while they're here on campus. They acquire certain skills and competencies, and we need to provide them an environment through career communities where they receive ongoing support over all 4 years to constantly reflect on this and work on that. They did not give us specific formats for these programs. That's what the working groups are working on. They gave us a set of expectations in terms of how visible, bold, and impactful that has to be to make a change. One thing that always resonates with me and that people have heard me repeat many times is that there are lots of things happening already in our curriculum that go in that direction. There's a phrase that they use is, that is not inconsistent with their recommendations, but it also doesn't bring us any additional students. So the task that we are facing is twofold. It's about further ensuring the success of the students who graduate here, which we've been doing through a strong curriculum, but then also look at the success of this institution standing out in the higher education marketplace and attracting additional students here. That's really the ultimate benchmark that the working groups are also pursuing right now.
Nope, it's sinking.
Got it. It's all right. Thanks, Robin. First of all, just want to say, recognizing how important that reduction of our deficit is, huge goal. And I recognize we've got real challenges ahead. I want to do something I think is going to be helpful.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm going to try to play a sort of devil's advocate role.
Okay, I like it.
And try to represent what I think may be some of the skepticism when some folks on campus hear about APEX.
Yep.
So I'm going to try to give voice to it and then give us a response to try to talk us out of it. So I think for many of us who've been around, a while, last decade or so, we've seen so many of these initiatives from Ursinus 150, strategic pivot. We had this campus climate survey. Then obviously the branding survey last year. There's always this hope that we'll come up with the right sort of branding strategy, and it's going to really give us a path to sort of solving the big problems. I think, especially for folks not intimately involved in that. Sorry, thanks. There's a feeling that these are kind of incantations, and that they represent they represent phrases and logics that maybe resonate really well with a certain kind of consulting branding class. But when I think of prospective undergrads, encountering a name like Apex, is that going to be all that exciting? It looks like it's going to be a sort of transparent branding that may inspire the same kind of cynicism. I think a lot of students struggle seeing the institution, not recognizing this institution is a nonprofit and seeing it as a profit-based institution. And so I guess the skepticism is, for those of us who feel like we've just been through an array of slogans that have seemed kind of flailing and are kind of skeptical of the wisdom of the kind of marketing resources that bring us to this. Tell us why we should be more optimistic about APEX. What makes you, why is it not just another stone in this road of jabs?
Wow, that's it. Wow. So, so first let me say that it is true that colleges, I think every new president has their new thing, right? So a new president comes in and they're told by the board, you got to do this. The new president says, oh, well, then we need a catchphrase. And I need to hire this consultant, this consultant, this consultant. You could say, well, Hannigan did the same thing, right? Here's how I know it's different, right? One, this college had a very clear brand, understanding of who it was, what it was doing while John Strasburger was president, right? And as John was president, the college had a clear plan, and the college was doing well. And then John dies. And then you have an interim. Then you have Bobby. Bobby's got a clear vision. He's adapting Ursinus for the future. He thought about entrepreneurship. He thought about professional. He understood where the world was going and where a liberal arts college could position itself ahead of everyone. And then Bobby dies. And then you have an interim, right? And then you got Hannigan, right? Who comes in and says, look at what Bobby was trying to do. The world has moved on. Oh, there was Brock. I'm so sorry. It wasn't on purpose. Oh my God. It's going to sound like that was on purpose, but it was not. So then you have Brock, and Brock comes in, and Brock is very focused on the professional, right, to build students with experiential learning. And he was also tasked with not only doing those things, but fundraising for those things, right? So he was on the road a lot. But then you get me, right? So I come in, I look at where we've been, and I look at what Strasburger was doing, right? And you think about the world and how it changed towards the end of his presidency, right? 2008 and the recession, and all the things that were changing then. Ursinus would have had to have changed, right? And then Bobby comes in and recognized it has to change, and here's the opportunity for us. And then Brock comes in and said, let me pick up what that opportunity was and bring it forward. And then COVID, and then nothing, right? And so I think if you look at what Apex is a natural evolution of where Strasburger began his work in around 2007, 2006. And where Bobby was able to really elevate that, right? So for me, I feel confident it's grounded in a history and a trajectory that is aligned with what this college is, right? So that gives me confidence. It also gives me confidence that unlike using traditional higher ed consultants, right? Ology is not a higher ed consultant. And it was, in large part, bringing in Ology to find out who we are, to make sure that anything that we do, right, any programming, any strategy investments, any hiring, that we're all aligned on the same thing and we all knew what it was, right? So that is a very different purpose for doing a brand study than, because it was not initiated when we set out the Ology agreement and investigators read the agreement. Their job is not to find out from the market what kids want. That was not what they were told to do. They were asked to evaluate and research who Ursinus is and how do we verbalize that and put it into visual so that other people can understand it immediately, right? So very different. Art and science was an opportunity, right? It was a big swing, right? Because they are the premier research group on student market demand, and particularly liberal arts college student market demand. If I had gone with any of the other traditional marketing ones, I would have said, yeah, you could throw me in the same bucket as all those other presidents. Art and science is not that. Art and science is transformational. It is proven to be transformational. And I don't think there's anything that we learned from art and science research that does not resonate with what we already knew and what we as a college for the past decade have been thinking about and having fits and starts about launching. So that's where my confidence comes from. I don't know. I love the question. I don't know if I ever got to an answer.
Hello, happy Halloween.
Same to you.
I'm Dominic Scudero from Theater and Dance. We talked today about how the turnover has maybe lowered morale from the rest of us that are here, but it's also made our jobs more difficult. Yeah. The responsibility is shared by more of us. We don't know who to turn to often, right? So our jobs are getting a little bit harder right now. Yeah. Budget cuts have also made our jobs harder. Mm-hmm. We don't know, if we are able to do this thing that we were able to do last year, or if we have the support we had last year, whatever. As you've also mentioned, students are coming in with all these new challenges that we're dealing with. So basically, in all respects, our jobs are difficult right now. Yeah. And that can have an effect on those of us that are working. Mm-hmm. About a year and a half ago, you were encouraging us to prioritize our mental health. Yes. And as part of that, you announced that we were partnering with Sanctuary Counseling. Mm-hmm. I, for one, started to use that benefit and found it quite helpful. And I believe that there are others as well, yes. From what I understand. Mm-hmm. That benefit has been quietly pulled as of this Friday. Mm-hmm. And as far as I understand from the folks at Sanctuary, they don't really know what's going on. They're not thrilled about it. And for those of us using that counseling, it is leaving us in a really weird place. And no one's addressed it. No one's talked about it. And I'm wondering if you can discuss the effects of what the college is doing to us and your understanding of how it might be affecting our health.
I appreciate that question, Dominic. So I'm going to take the sanctuary part of it first, right? So when the switch to Aetna was decided, the sanctuary benefit was lost. And that was something that was not desired. And so Terry, I think it was 2 weeks ago, had a long conversation with Sanctuary, and it turns out that Sanctuary does take Aetna insurance. And so you will actually be able to continue to work with Sanctuary counselors the same way that you had in the past. And so I encourage you to reach out to HR, and I will make sure that HR sends notification to the campus that your new benefit provider actually works with Sanctuary, so that you should not see any delay in your care. Yeah.
Ursinus used to get a discount at Sanctuary. So now, I mean, Sanctuary doesn't know anything about this because I talked to them this week about it. So they are completely in the dark about it. They don't know what to tell us to do. And if the insurance is covering some of it, do we have the discounted rate anymore, or is it now the regular rate and then the discount is not as substantial? From what I understand, I'm going to be having to pay more out of pocket, or at least that's what they're saying. So no matter what, I guess the bigger question is, the mental health of your employees is not in a great place right now.
It is not, no.
And you know, it's more than morale.
Yeah.
I think that we're being asked to do an awful lot.
Yeah.
And we're stumbling on who has been let go, who has decided to leave, what is being funded and what isn't being funded. Coming to work every day is a lot harder than it used to be. Yeah. But there's really no recognition. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of support here at the college to address the fact that we don't know what's going on often. We just get a lot of numbers and charts and this and that. But we are people. And, you know, this feels very corporate to me. And as a human being, I want to feel that support that we keep hearing about, but I don't feel it.
I am glad you shared that with me, Dominic. So first, let me make sure, thank you. Let me make sure that Lachelle goes back and investigates what's going on with Sanctuary, reach out to Terry and confirm the conversations, and hopefully be able to get a communication out to campus quickly about that, because I can assure you it was not the intention of what was going on to ever disrupt that relationship, but it happened, and we need to fix it right away. In terms of your jobs being more difficult, no kidding, right? And I don't know necessarily the details, and I take your point that I have not, as president, spent enough time with people, right? So I do a lot of traveling with fundraising, right? And I hang out with the students, not as often as I'd like. But I have not spent more intentional time with faculty and staff other than coming to meetings that I get invited to. So I'm going to work with KC and the leadership team, and we'll fix that, right? Because I don't hear the things, so I can't fix the thing, right? In terms of not knowing like who's coming and going, we're going to restart that HR newsletter, so you'll actually be able to see. As Mara said at the last faculty meeting, you can also go just into Oracle if you know what you're looking for, right? But if you don't even know what you're looking for, you can't even do that. In terms of your budgets and what's supported and what's not, please work with your division head. And if that, for some reason, isn't working, then reach out directly to Terry, and she and her team will help you as much as possible. The intention, again, is we know this is a difficult time, and I don't want it to be more difficult simply because we're forgetting the people part of what we do. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Robin.
Hello.
I definitely appreciate a lot of what Dominic just mentioned, and also I'm going to kind of bring it back to what Samara Price was talking about regarding professional development. And my name is Sahar Khan. I'm the LGBTQ coordinator. I work in the Institute for Inclusion and Equity. I started working here in February, and I've definitely seen like a lot of change just within this year, and it's definitely been overwhelming. And I think with it having been less than a year, but I'm feeling like I've been here much longer, I want to feel like I can professionally grow. So one thing that I'm sure that people who are leaving to go to other institutions are also thinking about are their like potential for moving, you know, forward in their graduate career. And I was curious if you had any plans or ideas for us to partner with other institutions in order to receive discounted or potentially free graduate education, because that is something that I'm definitely looking forward to, especially as I'm like young in my career, and obviously also curious about, you know, for those of us who are absorbing more work but maybe are not going to be changing titles, what that could potentially look like in terms of competitive compensation.
Yeah, those are two great questions. So from the graduate education part of it, we do have a partnership with Westchester. So there is the potential of pursuing a degree there. I'm actually meeting with Alvernia, Carlo, I think there's a couple of other institutions, to talk about what we could do in terms of sharing. I know that in the early conversation that Gundolf and Terry and I had with Alvernia, they have online graduate programs that we can work on opening up, not just to our current students, but also to our staff at a discount rate. And I know that they would be very open to that. And we're also working, some of the things that are coming out of the Apex work might also be graduate programs that we offer here that as an employee you would get the same tuition benefit that you would get for your undergraduate stuff. So I think it's an exciting time to be thinking about those things, because it is a time that is ripe for those partnerships and where we find those things. In terms of compensation, that's one of the things that LaSalle is going to be working on, is our compensation plan, our policy, both in terms of, as you think about the organization and your role at the organization, have there been changes that it's not temporary, but it's actually permanent. It's going to always be part of your job. Let's look at your job description. Let's get it re-benchmarked. Let's get things aligned the way they need to be. So that's the work that LaSalle is going to be doing. So thank you for those questions. Here she comes. Look out.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Lachelle Wilfong. I'm the new HR director here. I am thrilled to be part of Ursinus College. I've been here for 2 days, 5 hours, and I've got my work cut out for me. I've heard my name far more times than I hope to, but I'm not coming in without an awareness of where you all are and what you're going through. I've been there, I've done that, not at higher education, so I will acknowledge that. But I feel you, the turnover, the morale, the limited resources, the communication, the cultural shifts. I've been doing all of this. I'm excited to partner with all of you and everyone who's not in this room, everyone who's not in this meeting. I am not your panacea. I do not have a bag of unicorns to fix everything instantaneously, but I'm absolutely committed to listening, to acting, and to doing things right from the beginning. It's really important to me to complete my work with excellence. I take great personal pride. So be patient with me, be patient with Robin. We have so much more that we want to do together, and we're going to continue to make this an even better year.
Yes. Thank you, Lachelle. Wow. One more question? Oh, you could take one more. I feel bad.
Hi, Joanna Mellis, History. I don't mean to belabor the point. I guess I'm just thinking a lot about the staff turnovers last January and kind of how traumatic they were to people. I guess I really want to hit the point home as we're sort of thinking about how to redo HR. The people that were let go in January, they were basically escorted back to their desks to pack up that day and then escorted to their car. And that to me screams corporate environment, and that's not what we are. And I think we are like a place of human beings with feelings, and we care about each other. And it's a real strength that we bring in the classroom to students and working together. So I feel like as we're thinking about new directions, I think how we kind of, how we address staff and faculty and like their futures here. And I think there's like a much more humane way to do it. I mean, rumor is that somebody collapsed when they heard that they were being let go and they had been here for decades of service, and that was really troubling. The person who like did our ILL stuff, which is absolutely key to like all of us faculty doing our jobs, and I feel like we're better than that. And I'm not blaming you, and I know there's been a lot of, there's been so much transition here, so I just kind of like a plea that like we're humans, just like we want to teach our students to be like humans in the real world and have like a human impact. And so, yeah, that, and also like finding out who was let go, like through the grapevine, it's just, yeah, just any way to like increase the transparency, that is just, I think, gonna help like rebuild that trust for people.
Right, thank you. And I'm glad that what's coming back is more that human connection thing, because I think that in focusing on finances and all that stuff, I myself was distracted by the core, from the core rather, I should say. So, and I take your point from not knowing necessarily like who's going, why, you know, what's happening, bringing back that HR sort of newsletter that lets you know when those things are happening, and making sure that the communication within the divisions is actually happening, right? So that there's no reason, if someone leaves from an office that's in the same division as you, you should know that, right? So it's also making sure that the internal communications are functioning the way that they should. But I look forward to more conversation about this, working with Lachelle, working with the leadership team to start focusing on that one Ursinus part of Apex. And I guess that we're done, yeah? So thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.